see Elon Musk's announcements yesterday through his company Tesla? Some were interesting, but not shocking. For example, he showed what a driverless taxi could look like, Tesla style.
You can think of it like individualized mass transit. The average cost of a bus per mile for a city, not the ticket price because that is subsidized, but the average price is about $1 a mile. Whereas the cost of cybercab, we think probably over time, from the operating cost is probably going to be around 20 cents a mile. And price, including taxes and everything else, probably ends up being 30 or 40 cents a mile. So yes, and you will be able to buy one. Yes, exactly. And we expect the cost to be below $30,000.
That looked pretty cool, but it's not that shocking, as Tesla has had an autopilot function for some time now in all their Teslas. I think that this driverless car is just aesthetically superior to another California company bankrolled by Google, actually owned by Google now, called Waymo, which is super nerdy and very Google-ish.
So much emerging technology is just a show, so one can be forgiven for not being able to distinguish fact from fiction. Take this car, for example. Can it drive autonomously or not?
The short answer is absolutely.
That was Shweta Shrivastava, Senior Product Lead for Driving Behavior at Waymo.
What you're looking at is the Waymo driver in action. Adapted for a variety of vehicle platforms, it is the most advanced, fully autonomous driving technology in the world today.
What you notice pretty quickly is that these aren't normal vehicles. Take this Jaguar I-Pace, for example. It's been equipped with an elegant array of sensors and software, which allows it to move through the city on its own.
I think Elon Musk has a better aesthetic, but I don't know how different the cars would be. Tesla also rolled out a very Art Deco larger driverless vehicle called RoboVan, basically a taxi that's as big as a bus, almost a kind of a mini train. It certainly looks like freight trains looked in the 1940s.
So that would be quite fantastic. Oh, and also, what happens if you need a vehicle that is bigger than a Model Y? The RoboVan. The RoboVan is we're going to make this, and it's going to look like that. Now, can you imagine going down the streets and you see this coming towards you? That'd be sick. So this can carry up to 20 people, and it can also transport goods. So you can configure it for goods transport within a city or transport of up to 20 people at a time. So this is gonna, the RoboVan is what's gonna solve for high density. So if you want to take a sports team somewhere, or you're looking to really get the cost of travel down to, I don't know, 5-10 cents a mile, then you can use the RoboVan. Some people call it the RoboVan, but so yeah. One of the things that we want to do, and we've seen this with the Cybertruck, is we want to change the look of the roads. The future should look like the future.
That does look cool, and those are driverless. Elon Musk also mused about what our world would look like if we didn't have cars that needed to be parked in parking lots, but rather if it was all just autonomous vehicles whizzing around that you just ordered on demand. So what would a post-private ownership of vehicles look like? He said it would basically turn parking lots into parks.
One of the things that is really interesting is how will this affect the cities that we live in? And when you drive around a city, or when the car drives you around a city, you'll see there's a lot of parking lots. There's parking lots everywhere, parking garages. And So what would happen if you have an autonomous world is that you can now turn parking lots into parks. And so we're taking the ing lot out of parking lot.
Now, I take Ubers a lot. As you know what that is, it's like a taxi that's built in an app. They're very convenient, especially when I'm traveling or, to avoid the hassle of parking downtown. That's for sure. Sometimes the cost of taking an Uber to an event is less than the cost of driving and paying for parking in a big city like Toronto or New York. But I also really love my actual car. It's sort of beat up now. It's pretty old. The car that's parked on my driveway. The car that I don't need an app to use. The car that I can drive whenever and wherever and however I want, and no one else is involved. No tech company, no third party, no driver or artificial intelligence driver. To me, a car is an essential part of being a free person. It's one of the defining spirits of America and Canada too, as opposed to more European, African, or Asian ways. How much freedom there is on the open road. I mean, how many hundreds of songs have been written about driving on the highway and the freedom you feel. Teslas and these autonomous vehicles are part of huge technology companies that are amongst the most regulated companies in the world. And they're heavily regulated for political purposes, as you know. I mentioned Google, which owns Waymo. They also own YouTube. That's the company that punished us at Rebel News for having videos that were too pro-Trump. So they demonetized us. They're the people who punished us for not supporting COVID lockdown policies. That was literally part of their community guidelines. If you didn't obey your public health officer's politics, you would be shut down. So the company that interfered with your freedom of expression for political reasons, surely they won't hesitate to interfere with your freedom of movement for the same reasons. I've never used Waymo, and I don't really propose to, but the choice, I don't know if it's even going to be my choice to make. Waymo and Uber have announced that they're teaming up. They're making announcements like this one just last month. So my point is, would I have been able to go to, say, an anti-COVID lockdown, anti-COVID mandate protest if Waymo had been operating in Canada back in February 2022? Would they have let me go to the trucker convoy? Would an autonomous vehicle have taken me to the trucker convoy? I like Elon Musk a lot, but Teslas are at the mercy of their software and hardware. Even if Elon Musk personally opposed some sort of lockdown, could he really resist a government order to identify any cars participating in a future trucker convoy? How about shutting them off if they got too close to such a political event? Half of all the Teslas in the world are in China. Do you doubt they want that power over their people? Do you think that our politicians lack the will to regulate where you can go? They're already doing it in a sloppy way through 15-minute cities. That's with spy cameras and barriers. It would be so much easier for them just to program the 15-minute cities into an autonomous vehicle, don't you think? I mean, do you think the tech companies lack the ability to do this to you? Do you think they ever resist what the regimes tell them to do? I'm sure you'd be fine 99% of the time, maybe 99.9% of the time, but it's that last time that counts, isn't it? The one time that counts. If you've ever read the terms of service of Tesla, I think they give you something to worry about. It's not just Tesla. I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying they're all like this. Tesla is a tech company. I looked up their Canadian rules, and let me quote directly from their terms of service. They say, "Where you go says a lot about you." Okay, thanks. "Unless there is a serious safety concern, Tesla doesn't associate your location with your account or keep a history of where you've been." All right, well, that's a lot of "unless there's a serious problem." Here's something that the government has said is serious. COVID-19. Here's something else the government says is serious. The climate crisis. Here's something else the government says is serious. Disinformation and misinformation and the far right. Oh, no, but don't worry. They won't tell the government where you've been unless it's a serious safety issue, like the pandemic. I wonder if those cars can track if you're wearing a mask. There's so many cameras in those cars. Again, I'm not picking on Tesla. I like Elon Musk a lot. But let me quote some more from the terms of service. You can see it yourself. Go online and look at the terms of service. We may share information with third parties when required by law or other circumstances, such as to comply with a legal obligation, such as subpoenas or other court orders, in response to a lawful request by government authorities conducting an investigation, including to comply with law enforcement requirements and regulator inquiries, to verify or enforce our policies and procedures, to respond to an emergency, to prevent or stop activity we may consider to be or to pose a risk of being illegal, unethical, or legally actionable, or to protect the rights, property, safety, or security of our products and services, Tesla, third parties, visitors, or the public, as determined by us in our sole discretion. Got it. So they'll give information about you and your car and your journey and anything else they capture to the government as part of their inquiries, or just if they feel it's necessary at their sole discretion. What's this? Are you doing something unethical with your car? What's the definition of that? Whose code of ethics, by the way? Would that include, say, I don't know, smoking a cigarette or swearing or having politically inappropriate views or going to meetings with political opponents of the regime? Who decides what's unethical? I like ethics, but I know what my ethical code is. I don't think it's the same as the government's ethical code, and I don't know what Tesla's ethical code is. When they say they can do what they like for ethical reasons, what does that mean? What does it mean for Tesla to say they're going to protect the rights of the public? I know what an individual right is. What's a public right, especially when it comes to my car? They answer that question in the same sentence. It's their sole discretion, whatever they want, really. But hey, I'm sure it'll never happen to you. Don't you worry your pretty little head. You leave the worrying to the big people. Which brings us, to the latest announcement, the real showstopper yesterday. Elon Musk rolled out his autonomous vehicles, but that wasn't really shocking. What was shocking, or startling at least, surprising, was that Elon Musk rolled out humanoid robots that he says you'll soon be able to buy for your household. He says they'll not just be great for chores, but they'll also be your friend.
So everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI inference computer, it all actually applies to a humanoid robot. It's the same techniques. It's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels. And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started it with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year. So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular, something that anyone could own. So you could have your own personal R2-D2 C-3PO. And I think at scale, this would cost something like, $20,000, $30,000. Probably less than a car, is my prediction long term. Now, it'll take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks. Whatever you can think of, it will do. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think this will be the biggest product ever of any kind. Yeah. Because I think everyone, of the 8 billion people of Earth, I think everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy.
So what will the terms of service be for my new robotic friend? They obviously have a ton of sensors in them, electronic eyes and ears, so to speak, and it'll be in your house, maybe even in your bedroom, your kitchen, anywhere you are, helping you, of course. But they're not selling these robots yet, but I've seen videos of some celebrities saying they're going to get one soon. Like the cool Cybertruck, I'm sure that fancy people and opinion leaders will be able to get these Android-style humanoid robots very quickly. Maybe we'll learn then what the terms of service will say, but it's hard to imagine they'll be much different than Tesla's terms for their cars, which are essentially robots too, when you think about it. Tesla makes things. They make products. In that way, they're like GM or Ford. But I think they really gather data, enormous amounts of data. I really think that's what makes Tesla special and unique and modern. They film everything. There's so many cameras on that. That's how they've taught their cars how to drive robotically. Millions, I guess billions of little moments of how real human drivers stop, go, pass, slam on the brakes, honk horns, whatever. So the cars learned how to drive by watching human drivers. So in that way, it wasn't like your regular Ford or GM. It was more like your cell phone or your Facebook account, watching. Why is Facebook free? Because you are being what's bought and sold. You agree to share everything about your life with Facebook. And that's really fun and convenient when it suggests videos to you you might like, or makes your shopping ads suited to your own taste. We don't mind if the spying is light and commercial like that and not too intrusive, but it is still spooky to say something and then to see an ad about what you were just talking about pop up on your phone. But what if it's more than that? I mean, imagine a robot in your house, never sleeping, always listening, always watching, never forgetting anything, uploading it all to the cloud so corporate can go through it at their sole discretion. How do you feel about that? I'm sure some people will love it. In many homes, people already have Alexa or other devices that control systems in their house based on voice activation. They're listening all the time, those little devices. They have to know when they're being ordered to do something. It's just now the robots don't look like a little disc. They look like real people. Here's how some of that looked yesterday.
Optimus.
People here today.
It's insane. It's even talking.
Say hi to my friend John. John? Where's John?
Right here.
Oh, hello, John.
How are you?
How are you doing? Very good.
That's crazy. I'm
Where are
talking
you
to a
from,
robot. From San Jose. Probably
San
from where you were born in Silicon Valley.
Wonderful. Where do you live in San Jose? Do you live in Almond Valley, or do you live in Santa Teresa area? Or?
No, I live in Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Oh, wonderful. Very nice area.
Where do you live?
Beautiful hiking I hear out there.
There is. Where do you live?
I live in Palo Alto at the current moment.
Figures. Yeah, this is awesome.
That's where they train us. That's where we get our builds, and that's where we work with a wonderful group of people.
What's the hardest thing about being a robot?
Trying to learn how to be as human as you guys are. And that's something I try harder to do every day, and I hope that you will help us become that way.
You want to get a photo?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. A little video. Hey. Sweet. Thanks, man. Bro. Appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
All right.
How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing?
Tremendous. Doing good.
Peace, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Nice.
I love the change. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. All right.
Then step right up.
Can I have a watermelon fogarita?
A watermelon?
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Hey, what's up?
How am I doing so far?
Killing it.
can see the benefits, of course. I mean, why not have some help with household chores? We had the Roomba that did one thing, but why not have a humanoid robot to do that? And really, why not mow the lawn, and why not paint the house and maybe do some household repair work? Sure. Have them go up on the roof to clean up the leaves from the eavesdrops so you don't have to risk it. Who would object to that? Well, I suppose a lot of landscapers and gardeners will have to find something new to do to earn a living. A lot of taxi drivers and truck drivers will soon be unemployed by these autonomous vehicles too. What happens when those people are affected by automation? What happens when 1 million jobs are just replaced by very happy, very friendly robots, but they're replaced? So much of our economy is based on these jobs. 750,000 temporary foreign workers in Canada suggests that there are jobs right now that Canadians don't really want to do. I suppose robots could be an answer to mass immigration. Instead of having 750,000 foreigners in our country, we could have 750,000 robots. But still, what about Canadians? What do young people get to do on their first job or any job? And what are the social consequences? The friendliness of the robots last night was a great touch. Some of them have friendly accents even. Will this stop people interacting with other people? Will people who are shy or socially awkward or even just lazy develop into fully developed men and women if they interact with robots? If you treat a real person poorly, you suffer the consequences. You're embarrassed, you're corrected, you're marginalized, you don't get what you want, whatever. But if you abuse a humanoid robot, I'm sure just puts up with it. I don't know. As the robots become more and more human, I fear that we will become more robotic. What about people choosing only to have robots in their life? We were warned about this by Yuval Noah Harari, of all people, from the World Economic Forum. Remember when he said that the future for most people will be useless? He actually called people useless eaters who'll spend their time just on drugs and playing video games because there's nothing else for them to do.
Yes, in the Industrial Revolution, we saw the creation of a new class of the urban proletariat. And much of the political and social history of the last 200 years involved what to do with this class and the new problems and opportunities. Now we see the creation of a new massive class of useless people. As computers become better and better in more and more fields, there is a distinct possibility that computers will outperform us in most tasks and will make humans redundant. And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food to feed everybody. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless. My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
You know, they say that the current generation has the least sex of the generations that have been measured, which is odd, don't you think? Because they certainly have the most pornography in history and the most online dating apps. There's never been more dating and situationships in history, but I think young people have fewer real connections with real people now than ever. The birth rate is plummeting, at least in the West. I think maybe there's a sense of purpose that's eroding, a sense of community. Look, I understand the appeal of having machinery and technology. I mean, I love my smartphone, and I can see the social problems even that is creating. High tech has made the most average person in Canada today as rich as a king from olden times. When you think about things like your basic medical care and dental care, the basic availability and choice of food, entertainment, travel, everything from literacy to communications, an ordinary Canadian has a better life than a king just a few hundred years ago. And it's because of technology in large part, and culture too. But what will these robots do to our humanity? I'm sure people asked the same questions at the start of the Industrial Revolution. I know they did. The Luddites rioted and smashed the looms. They destroyed the factories because they could see how the world was changed by them. I suppose in a way, you can't fight the inevitable future. Wouldn't it be nice to have a robotic slave that wasn't immoral because the slave was just a machine, it wasn't human? That's really the value proposition here. But it won't just eliminate actual slaves, it'll eliminate many paying jobs too, and it'll replace many human moments with robot moments. And it'll all be at a kill switch if the government thinks you're in some danger of your safety. Elon Musk is no dummy, of course, he's the opposite. And at least he's an American, and he generally is on the side of freedom, I think. I'd rather have Elon Musk owning and creating these things than communist China, I suppose, but he's pretty deeply involved in that country too. Elon Musk is famous for Tesla and for SpaceX, which is now sending more rockets into space than all other countries and companies combined, 10 times more than the rest of the world combined. Elon Musk's Starlink internet system is amazing. I've used it myself. I love it. Lesser known as his Star Shield program. You ever heard of that? That's what he calls the system he sells to the Pentagon. Doesn't get as much press. Don't think Elon Musk hasn't been thinking about the military applications of these robots too. They don't just do rock, paper, scissors. The Russian-Ukraine war was the first war where drones were used by the tens of thousands, I think by the hundreds of thousands. I imagine it won't be too long before humanoid robots are on the battlefield too. Maybe that's an advantage. Maybe that's progress. Fewer people will be killed, or maybe many, many more will be. Elon Musk says he thinks this will all have a happy ending, or at least he's 80% certain.
I predict, actually, provided we address risks of digital superintelligence, 80% probability of good, a good outcome. Look on the bright side. The cup is 80% full. The cost of products and services will decline dramatically, and basically anyone will be able to have any products and services they want.
I think that 20% he's talking about is the risk that the robots and the artificial intelligence computers decide that humans are the enemy and that we are what needs to be eliminated. It's basically the script of the old movie, The Terminator. Maybe the giant AI, artificial intelligence system, hacks all the robots and uses them to enslave us. I don't know how that would be much different than if just the government did it, which I'm certain they will. Remember how Chrystia Freeland froze people's bank accounts. Imagine the power she could have if she controlled the robots. Tell me how you would fight back if your household robot suddenly took orders from someone or something far away, whether it was AI or a malicious government. I don't think you would win a fight with these metal robots, would you? And really, they'd probably just lock you in a room in your high-tech home. It reminds me of the terrifying final scene in the robot movie Ex Machina. I hope I'm not spoiling it for you. Take a look. In the 1940s, the great author and amateur scientist Isaac Asimov wrote a ton of books about robots. As a kid, I loved reading them. He devised what he called the 3 laws of robotics. They were really philosophical laws, not mechanical laws. I really recommend his classic book called I, Robot. I read it as a kid. Don't watch the movie. The movie's sort of junk, but you've got to read the book. It's an easy read, and it's brilliant. Here's what those 3 laws of robotics are from his novels. The first law: a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. The second law is a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third law is a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Isn't that a great starting point? Very first principles. Protect human life, do not take human life. Yield to instructions from a human, except for if it would violate the first rule. And save yourself, unless it would violate the second rule. Those are beautiful and brilliant. It's a good starting point. Of course, the book was, what was fun about the book, by the way, is about how those laws are implemented in various scenarios, especially when those laws are in conflict. That's what made the book so interesting. I like those laws, but they're not real. That's just from science fiction. Right now, I guess you could say there is a 0th law before the first law and the second one. It predates the other ones. It has more power than the other ones. And it would go something like this: notwithstanding any other laws, a robot will do whatever big government orders it to do. Because that's what the terms of service say. The terms of service are really a code of conduct for robots. The terms of service say you have all these rights to your robot, to your Tesla, to your Android, unless there's a matter of public safety, which we, in our sole discretion, will define. You know, I would get a kick out of a robot helping me fix a few things around the house, change some light bulbs. You know, I like mowing the lawn sometimes, but I'd probably prefer having a robot do it, things like that. It would be good to have a security system that was prowling around, although he'd probably have to fight against robot intruders, come to think of it. But for me, the thing I would be most worried about is having every word, every action, every facial expression, every journey, every movement I made, even in my own home, in my own car, just recorded and shared with big tech and shared with big government. And if I did something serious, well, then they would intervene in whatever way they wanted. It's already bad enough with my cell phone. Don't you think? Stay with us for more.